Every year when the yellow leaves start to fall, the salmon have begun an incredible journey. From the vast ocean, they go back to the freshwater rivers, where they were born. But this is not a relaxing walk. On a journey of hundreds of kilometers, they're facing incredible challenges. From the fast current, the violent waterfalls to the stalking predators. With incredible perseverance and strength, salmon overcome all obstacles to reach the breeding site. At SAO salmon species, you have to go on a dangerous journey, and that's so bad. Just to reproduce. Let's explore the dramatic story together, about life and death, of these ocean warriors. When the last days of autumn come, the sea began to ripple, and the signs of an arduous journey, and fierce. Thousands of salmon, with an unshakable determination, leaving the vast ocean, to the sweet rivers where they were born. This journey, it's not just a return. It's a tough fight for survival, where every moment is a survival challenge. They have only one chance in life to reproduce, and they put all their energy into it, power, and determination in this final spawning, before death. This is a one-time reproduction mechanism, where their lives are exchanged, for the continuation of the line. This mechanism is a special reproductive strategy, that some organisms apply to. They only reproduce once in their lives. After completing the breeding process, they usually die soon after. Let's imagine the life of a Pacific salmon. From birth, they start their journey from small rivers, where they hatch from tiny eggs. Then they migrate out into the open sea, where they grew up, in a dangerous and challenging environment. For many years living in the ocean, salmon accumulates energy, prepare for a unique and important task: reproduction. When the breeding season comes, it's an internal command that urges them to come back, where they were born. This journey back, it's not an easy walk. It's a very arduous and dangerous war. Salmon have to cross hundreds of miles of killing water, avoid the hunters, evil prey, and face the towering waterfalls. Every salmon has a mission. Alive know that this is the last time they can contribute to the survival of the species. In front of them is the current, the violent cascades, and not a few enemies are stalking. Salmon have to swim against the current, through the strong currents, pushing them towards the sea. But with extraordinary power, and a strong survival instinct, they rush forward without backing down. Salmon jumping out of the water, over the majestic falls. It's a testament to perseverance. There's nothing that can stop. But that's not all. On this journey, each salmon has to face the hunters, wicked bait from giant brown bears, waiting by the river. Let the birds of prey soar through the air. Every jump could be the last. And yet the salmon are still moving forward and swimming through every meter of water, overcome every obstacle, with an unshakable determination. This journey took weeks. Each salmon, they all have a sacred mission, back to where they are, born to reproduce, to ensure the continuation of the next generation. As the salmon get closer to the river where they're born, their shiny silver skin began to turn a vibrant reddish-brown. It's not just a change in color. It's also a sign of maturity. Prepare for a sacred mission. This new color helps them stand out in the water. A strong visual signature. It shows that they're ready for a breeding war. For the salmon, the transformation becomes even more pronounced and dramatic. Their bellies are swollen, carrying thousands of eggs. Each egg is a potential life force. for the next generation. Their bulky shapes is strong symbol for preparation, thoughtful and dedicated to protecting new life. Their bodies become a precious treasure, where the future of salmon is kept. Male salmon, to protect and fight for the right to inseminate, through equally dramatic transformations. Their jaws develop sharp hooks. It's like natural weapons, equipped for the tough fights. These hooks are not just for showing, it's actually become an effective tool in the struggle with other competitors. These wars are unbearable. Every stab, every bite. It's a testament to strength and determination, lineage protection. This biological transformation, it's not just a superficial phenomenon, but also the deep adaptation of salmon with the environment, fresh water, hormonal changes, especially an increase in corticoid levels, not just preparing the body for the challenges ahead, but also signals to the salmon that the time of birth is near. When the salmon finally reach their spawning grounds, they're exhausted, but their mission is not yet complete. Female trout starts digging up nests of gravel. By smashing the tail to the bottom of the river, they make small holes to lay eggs. Each nest can contain thousands of eggs. Then the male salmon will swim over and fertilize the egg. It's an emotional and beautiful scene. But it's also the starting point for their death. After completing the reproduction, salmon's body begins to rapidly weaken. They used up all their energy on the journey and reproduction. Their organ systems start to degrade. Muscles atrophy and the flesh begins to rot. They finally die, leaving the body on the river bank or drifting along the water. In the process full of time and challenge to reproduce, the salmon face an invisible enemy, but extremely dangerous: Hormone cortisol. When the level of corticosteroids in the body is elevated, it causes impacts, damage to salmon's immune system. It makes them vulnerable before diseases and parasites, and eventually lead to death. Cortisol is known as a stress hormone. Plays an important role in the help salmon cope with harsh conditions on the way back. When salmon are faced with fast-flowing water, the high falls, and scary predators, cortisol is produced to provide instantaneous power and enhanced endurance. However, the continuous and prolonged increase of it's not that there's no price for it. When corticoid levels are consistently elevated, the salmon's immune system begins to weaken. Immune system, it's the body's natural defense line against diseases and parasites, inhibited and loss of ability to function effectively. This makes salmon more susceptible to infection and attacked by parasites. Like a fortress chiseled by intruders. Small but dangerous. It's not just about weakening the immune system. Cortisol, it causes direct damage to the organs and tissues of salmon. Processes of decomposition and degradation of the body. It happens quickly. It's like an attack from the inside that can't be resisted. The salmon are losing their strength. The body will become exhausted and no longer able to go on living. The death of salmon in this context. It's not just the end of a biological cycle. It's also the inevitable consequence of ultimate sacrifice. They put all their energy into it. Reproduction. And cortisol. Although initially helping them overcome their challenges, they end up being a terrifying enemy. Take them to death. However, the death of salmon is not the end of nonsense. They have completed a noble mission to ensure the survival and continuation of the next generation, and salmon carcasses after death become a rich source of nutrition for freshwater ecosystem. They break down and release nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus in the river, feeding algae and aquatic plants. The trees by the river absorb these nutrients, better green growth, creating the ideal living environment for many other animals. Salmon carcass. It's also food for many other animals. For many other species of insects, invertebrates and small fish that eat salmon carcasses, from which to feed the larger fish, birds and mammals. This food chain not just help to sustain the lives of other animals, but also to ensure the ecological balance in the region. Nutrients from salmon carcasses. It doesn't just help plants grow, but also feeding the next generation of salmon. Insects that eat salmon carcasses become food for salmon larvae, help them grow stronger and ready for the next voyage out to sea. It's a perfect cycle, where the death of a generation, it's the beginning of the life of another generation. Go back to the eggs. They're protected by gravel and sand, help shield from strong currents and predators. For about 2 to 8 months, the embryo in the egg will develop gradually. The first stage of the development process, it's when the embryo starts to form the basic internal organs. Then the fins and eyes start to appear, and the salmon's body gets smaller and clearer. During this time, the egg absorbs oxygen through the egg membrane from the water that flows through. At the same time, nutrients from the egg yolk that nourish the embryo. When the embryo is fully developed and ready to hatch, baby salmon will use a special structure. It's called an egg tooth, to break the eggshell and get out. Baby salmon is also called alevin larva. Still carrying the yolk bag on your belly. This yolk bag provide the necessary nutrients for them for the first few weeks after hatching, help them survive and grow until you can find your own food. The larvae will continue to live in the rocks to avoid enemies and strong currents until they get bigger and move to the fry phase. Fly. Start swimming out of the water in search of food and continue to grow. Fry phase lasts several months, in which young salmon continue to grow and mature